So I'd like to call the Kaneland Community Unit School District 302 Board of Education meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And first I'd like to let everyone know that the board meeting attendees know that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. And we will start with a pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Farber.
Here.
Mr. Lawler.
Here.
Mrs. Pavlak.
Here.
Mr. Rivas.
Here.
Mrs. Witt.
Here.
And Mr. Carey and Mr. LePayton are absent
All
tonight.
right. So we have established a quorum with 5 members. And we will move on to consideration of moving something from the consent agenda to new business. Any? Nope. All right. See none. If there's a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Second. Perfect. All right. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Nope. You're good.
Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlak.
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Farber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. And we'll move on to Board Superintendent Slutes.
Yeah, we have an introduction tonight, and so for the introduction, I'll turn it over to Dr. Slutes and let her introduce Karen Smith.
Great. Karen, you want to stand up, please? Thank you. So I'm pleased to introduce to the Board of Education Mrs. Karen Smith. Karen is our new Director of Transportation. You approved her employment at the last board meeting. Karen's been with us for a little over 8 years. I think
it's been 9 in November.
Yep, so 8.5 to 9 years. She served as the assistant to the director and has the opportunity now to lead the department. We're very pleased to have her and welcome her on board, so help me welcome Karen. And one of her first duties was to hire her replacement. And so that is in the board packet tonight under consent. But Karen, thanks for being here tonight, and we're really looking forward to leading the Department of Transportation Department. So thank you. You're all welcome.
Welcome.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah. That is true.
Continual welcome.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all we have.
Nope. All right, so we will move on to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? All right, we will skip reading the whole spiel then.
Good idea.
Awesome. Sounds good to me. All right, so then I need a motion to, first I guess I'll say the consent agenda includes approval of accounts payable and payroll for July 2018, approval of treasurer's report, approval of minutes from the June 25th, 2018 regular meeting, approval of resignations of employment of staff, approval of destruction of audio recordings from December 2016, approval of post-issuance bond compliance report, approval of policies from press, second reading, and the following informational items: employee position report, Freedom of Information Act request report. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. All right, and a roll call.
Mrs. Pavlak.
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Farber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye.
And Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So I guess we're already to new business.
First item, J1, I saw in the memo, this is kind of a recap of some of the analytics and information for the videotaping that we've done since November 27. So just as a quick reminder, as part of a means to try to increase community engagement, a couple times over the last few years, the board has discussed the topic. And last October 2017, was brought up again. Then in November, the board decided to do it, move the administration forward, and we've been doing it ever since. And one of the items that the board talked about at that time was sometime in the summer of 2018, let's take a look and get some feedback on financials, some of the analytics, and then see if there's a recommendation or the idea to continue. As I put in the memo, if we do want to continue, since we're already doing it, we don't need a recommendation, a formal recommendation. We can just continue doing it. If there's any more information, any additional information the board would want, or any other feedback, we can provide that. A couple things I do want to share, a couple details. If you look on the second page, or the back page, the live streaming column, you'll see that it's anywhere from 3 up to 40. And as you can see in the little the box, that it's concurrent viewers. So what Jen Hodak, while she's watching this, as she's looking, the number's kind of going up and down. And so that number that you'll see, 32 or 3 or whatever it might be, that is the peak number of viewers during the course of the board meeting. So she said while she's watching it, she'll see it go up and down. It's generally higher during the salutes, and then it kind of tails off a little bit after that and vacillates anywhere between 2 or 3 for the remainder of the meeting. And so that's the live stream piece. And then the next one is the average view time. As I talked with Jen, Jen Hodak, that average view time is inflated just a little bit because during the board meetings, there's always 2 IT people that are either logged in or on. So the 4 minutes of average view time all the way up to 34 minutes of average view time is inflated a little bit. And as far as trying to figure out the analytics, she said there's no way to do that because of the amount of time people are in and out, and to be able to specify that time. So the times you do see are inflated just a little bit. The total recording views of then watching it later on the website are accurate for the number of views and the averages on those. And then down in the narrative a little bit, just as a reminder, the administration was able to do it for a total of $515 with the webcaster live streaming technology that we needed, a few of the new cables to connect all of them. We are currently using previously district-owned microphones and cameras to be able to do it at a lower, more efficient cost. And then the last paragraph talks a little bit about just the expense for the personnel at roughly $75 a meeting based on how long they go. That pay is vacillated based on how long the meetings are. And we have, just as a little bit of anecdotal feedback, there have been times during the year when we have received questions. Somebody's either emailed us or called us for information, and we have been able to direct them back to our website to be able to watch the video, watch portions of it, and even tell them, go to the 21-minute mark, or there's even times where we've copied the clip of that section and then sent it to people for their to be able to view it. So it has been helpful for us to be able to direct some of the inquiries back for people to watch it. So that's the information. I want to see if there's any board discussion, any comments, any feedback.
So at the time we were talking about it, it was like, well, we could do this for a little while, but then there was a much more expensive option. But this seems to be working well. Can we keep the cheap option? And I mean, because that was kind of the discussion, was like, well, we don't want to spend however much it was. I don't even remember this.
It's like $4,000 or something.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of. So this works, right? And we can continue on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only potential issue could be down the road is the camera. If anything would ever happen to the camera with the class, students use it here regularly for class, and if something would happen to that camera, kids carrying cameras, valuable, that kind of thing. So that might be something we'd have to replace down the road. But for now, this is the expense. It is what it is as far as the materials, and then it would just be labor moving forward.
But if something happens during the school day, we'd have to replace it anyway, so.
Correct.
It's not like a meeting or two?
For the class.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice and sure.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know how much it costs, but our deductible's $1,000, so I probably wouldn't turn it in depending on how much it costs. It is insured though.
I don't know if it's happened since you became president, but a few times when I was responding to community members who had sent an email to the full board, I was able to also reference the videotape and say, you can see what our discussion was specifically if you go to this, so that was additionally helpful, so.
One thing you had mentioned, Dr. Layden, was that some districts don't continue the broadcast if there is action after executive session. I don't know if that's something we'd want to consider stopping if we don't want someone to have to wait.
Yeah, one of the things we had talked about with action, the board meetings when we do have action, Andrew or Colin will have to wait and then come back in. So if it's a longer closed session, they're there waiting. So as I talked with other superintendents, what they have done is they just stop the tape at that point, and then when there is action afterwards, we take our normal action, and then we would just continue to communicate as we have prior to videotaping what that action was. If it's staff leave, student discipline, any of those things, we just then contact the appropriate personnel, and then people can see it 2 weeks later when the minutes are approved anyway.
Because we don't have discussion, but if they would miss the vote.
Right.
I don't know if that's...
And they can always call the next morning and find out what the vote was too, and we always avail ourselves. So that would be something, if we are looking for a change or to even reduce the cost, send Colin home earlier, those would be things that we could always consider later.
Well, some of our previous meetings, we came out as, did whatever we needed to do and come out.
Went back in.
Yeah, we could expedite that a little faster and stuff, and then once we got back in session again, which I think it worked.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
I've even seen some, I don't know if it's schools, but I've seen like villages do where they post it in the comments section afterwards. So like in the comment of the video, they'll put like, these are the decisions made by the board of that night or whatever. And that way you wouldn't have to have the second session. You could just post that in there as a comment.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like should we do thumbs up? I want the videotaping to stay, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Just a consensus. Yeah.
And then I don't know if anyone has any strong preferences after executive session, but.
I would just say if we could cut the cost, that's always a good idea, so.
I'd concur.
I don't know if you guys are good with that.
My second motion over there.
Do you have a strong preference after executive session, whether or not we come back?
I like that option of comment.
Like I mentioned earlier, I thought it was a really good move that we made, Bill made a decision, kudos to you, where we go in special session, let the decision come out,
And they come out.
recorded, and they can go and get back in special session. I prefer that they cover it all, but there are different ways of doing it, so. But as far as cutting it off, no, I wouldn't.
Okay, got the direction we need. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so new business topic number J2, approval of bid scoreboard.
As we recall from last board meeting, we had a conversation, provided some additional information in the weekly update, and Julianne can walk us through the memo and answer Dr. Poops and walk us through the memo if there's any other questions you might have.
Sure. As I mentioned at the prior board meeting, we have a verbal commitment from the family, Stephen and Nancy Henriksen, for $85,000 for new scoreboards for the new East Gym. And so it's not a new gym, but new gym floor, new bleachers, things like that. And so we worked with Russ Tate, our architect, to prepare the bid specs and to conduct the bid, and the bid results are as listed. The total of the bid is $93,593 for correct digital displays. You can see that the cost will be divided up amongst quite a few different folks, including us, the KHS Activity Fund, and then the District Operations and Maintenance Fund. Once we get approval for this, we'll get it ordered, and I believe there's an 8 to 12 week leeway before it will get here. In the meantime, we're working on the electrical upgrades that are necessary. We had the electrical engineer come out last week to make sure everything is up to code and that the changes are made properly. And the sports boosters, again, thank you to the sports boosters because they are contributing $25,000 toward this project, towards the electrical upgrade and the architect fees. So
that's about it.
We weren't able to reduce that price. That was the max.
Yeah, unfortunately, we weren't, so.
So the builder, whoever was in there, did you negotiate that at all? They didn't budge? What?
So, it's the architect that's doing all three projects, not the contractor. And the contractor, when he gave us his quote, he knew that it only needed to be the 50 and 75 amps. He didn't quote the 100 like had been thought. And so he wasn't able to reduce it. He quoted it for what it was supposed to be for.
So we have to go to 100?
No, we're only going to 75 on one side and 50 on the other. But originally we thought we needed 100, but we don't.
I didn't add these numbers up, but we originally supposed to come out $1,000 from the district, and now I see quite a close to 5,000. Just throwing a number out there.
Yeah. So the original estimate for the district was between 2,000 and 3,000. If you look at my last board memo.
Right.
Yep. If you look at the last one, it was between 2 and 3, and these are the bid amounts, and it is just slightly higher than before. But if you'll see, for those amounts, you're going to have engineered stamp drawings, which is what is required in order to get the permit from the ROE. And then the payment and performance bond is important in case if there's a problem with the contractor.
Is that an option, or is that a required thing?
Which one?
The last one, the bond.
The bond? I would say it's probably an option, but I don't consider it an option for the district. Because with district money, we try to protect it to the best of our ability.
What are we protecting with that? What does that do for us?
Sure. That protects us in case if the contractor doesn't, say he starts the job and doesn't finish it, he has to pay for it. It protects us from getting the job paid and done in performance. Payment and performance from the contractor.
Is this a new contractor, or we used them before?
We have used them before. They actually put up our football scoreboard.
So this is kind of like insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Has he done other work for us?
You know what? The football scoreboard is the only one that I'm aware of.
I'm just trying to justify whether we kind of like, you know, when you travel in an airplane, you pay an extra $100 to be able to change your ticket, and they don't charge you as much type of thing.
It's been common practice with any architect and construction project where you have, you know, $85,000 on the table to make sure that the contractor performs. The one payment performance bond that we had to call in was for here when we were doing harder. If you'll recall, the mason, he went under while he was on the job and never finished the job, and we were stuck. And so we called the bond, and we were able to take care of it then because we had the protection of the bond. So I would say in 9 years, I've only had to call a person's bond once because it has happened. Whether it's going to happen to this person or not, or company, I don't know. But again, I'm protecting the district that if it does happen, we're not out our money and sitting with either some, none, or all of the scoreboard halfway installed. So.
And what's this extra allowance for?
Whenever there's a project, we always put an allowance in there. And what that does is that gives us $2,500 that I don't have to wait to come back to the board and say, hey, we've got a change order, blah, blah, blah. We can take care of it and keep the project moving forward and then let the board know, hey, we had a minor, we need another cable or something like that, who knows what. You know, it is an example, and you've got $2,500 in there for allowances. It's very typical to have an allowance. If we don't need it, we won't pay it.
So the bids and everything is all in and final in a sense?
That's
Other
correct.
Then just to explore, as we go and if something's explored, necessary, that's where that comes in?
Yes,
potentially?
for the scoreboard. The electrical, we're still waiting. We've got a quote for $18,310, but we need to make sure that last week when the electrical engineer was on site, we need to make sure that he doesn't have any other changes. That cost then may change or may not change, but that is one more thing that we're kind of wondering about. So but everything else is here and done.
Okay. In totality, so this is the 93,000 plus the 25,000 the boosters put in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And so about 110,000 total. Yeah. So it's very, very generous donations, generous from the Henriksons and generous from the sports boosters. It's pretty exciting.
How is that, Jim, coming along as far as the flooring and whatnot?
The wood was delivered today on somewhat of a schedule, so that was good. So beginning today then, they're on the clock for about 5 weeks worth of work. Following that then, we will schedule the bleacher installation. So.
And those are ready to go whenever?
No, they were behind originally because they, for the bleachers, we knew that they were gonna be late. But hopefully now with the wood on site, we can get that back going on schedule. It won't be ready for the start of school, but it should be shortly thereafter. Maybe 3 to 4 weeks.
It was September 1st was the last
Yep.
update from Mr. Page.
Yep. And that's if the wood came today, and it did, so that was good.
Anything else? All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion that the Board of Education accept the public bid for the new scoreboard for the Kaneland High School East Gym in the amount of $93,593 for correct digital displays.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Mrs. Farber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye.
Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
And Mrs. Pepper.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So now move on to J3, approval of additional FTE for John Stewart and Kaneland John Shields.
Yes, as we share in March when we do the staffing plan, that doesn't conclude us continuing to look at enrollment, looking at sections. So what we do is we continue to look at that, and as we were here at the last board meeting, and then tonight, Mr. Atkins will provide an update that you also saw in the weekly update about a couple of our sections at 2 of our schools, and then the official request for 2 additional staff. Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
Thank you. Good evening. So as you know, our agreement with the Kaneland Educators Association recommends class sizes of 22 in kindergarten through 2nd grade and 24 in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. At the beginning of the summer, we had a significantly high 4th grade that didn't lose any children. Nobody moved out. Stewart had a 1st grade that we were keeping our eye on as well, as it was high and it only added more students. And specifically at 1st grade at Shields, we have 3 pending 1st grade students still that need to complete their registration process. So it's very timely that we're asking to add an FTE there, as we will be at 21 to 1 very shortly as soon as they complete the registration process. So with the enrollments that we have at those 2 sites, we're asking for an additional FTE for the 4th grade. That would give us class sizes in line with the recommendations from our contract, and the same with the additional FTE at Stewart. So we're requesting that the board add to that minimum staffing plan for March and allow us to have healthy class sizes in those 2 grade levels.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question. So when you get the students in and then you add the section and it brings it to the bottom part of the range, and then you may have other schools, Montgomery, like at McDowell or at Blackberry Creek, where they're pushing the top end of the range. And sometimes it just seems inequitable. So what do the other sections look like?
4th grade across the district, Blackberry's at 25 to 1. Shields would be at 23 to 1, and McDowell would be at 23 to 1. With this additional FTE, Stewart would be at 21.3 to 1. So definitely a different number and a lower number because we're increasing that divisor, but our students don't enroll evenly. they enroll where they do. And the divisors become interesting. But I also know that 28.3 to 1 is an unhealthy class size at Stewart. So the same thing with first grade. First grade, Blackberry's at 22.3, Stewart's at 24.7 now with, 24.7 in Stewart. Shields would be 26.3 if we did not have the additional FTE, but we'll be right at 20 to 1 with the current students. And once those three that are have come in and picked up packets finish their registration, it'll be 21 to 1. And McDowell is 23.7 to 1. So within a student or two of each other, yes, 25 is different than 23, but as far as a district staffing plan, that's a pretty tight spread for us.
Yeah. Guess when it's like 25 versus 21, that it
Right,
kind of feels, do you ever hear from parents that say, why are do people pay attention? Why are the classes so much smaller at X school than in my child's class?
No, it's a good question. I think when we do hear from them, it's just about their size, not necessarily the comparisons, because I don't know how much homework that they do to get these numbers from anywhere. So we don't. And I think the other challenging piece is as the years evolve and things shift, they're not always the same. The following year, John Stewart might have the smallest second grade, but the biggest fourth grade, and those groups kind of ebb and flow throughout the 4 or 5 years that a student would go from first grade through fifth grade.
Okay.
But to your point, I bet you people notice in the building more. So if fourth grade has 20 kids and fifth grade has 25 kids.
Yeah.
I bet you they might notice that more than what does a different school have.
In their own building,
Yeah, in their own building, because you got kids in both grades or whatever.
Are we getting input from Elbert Station? Have anything coming in off of there yet?
Not to my knowledge,
Not yet?
no.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion that the administration recommends that the Board of Education approve an additional 2.0 FTE, 1.0 FTE assigned to fourth grade at John Stewart Elementary School, and 1.0 FTE assigned to first grade at John Shields Elementary School.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Mrs. Barber,
Aye.
Mrs. Witt,
Aye.
Mr. Lawler,
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlik,
Aye.
Mr. Rivas.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. So we'll move on to superintendent reports.
Yeah, we have, again, with new summer, there are no committee updates. Talk a little bit about the committees later, but no committee updates right now. We do have a final report from Patrick Rowley, who is our summer school principal here for all of summer school. You'll see that in August, so shortly they're finishing that up. And then next Friday, August 10th, is our last of the Fridays for the 4-day weeks. So then we have another week and a half of the Fridays, with 2 more Fridays, much to most of our chagrin. And then after that, we'll eventually have students and staff, and it'll be like school all over again. So that's all we have. Summer, July's been, other than a little bit of staffing and some construction projects, it's pretty slow, so it's good.
Good.
Dr. Fuchs, did you have any?
I do not. Thank you.
Anything else?
I can tell you the auditors are coming back next week. They've been here once, but nothing to report, just doing field work. So.
All right.
So,
If nothing else, topics for future agendas.
You're asking us in the middle of the summer.
Nothing. All right, we'll move on to public comments. And we'll say nothing to that, too. All right, I guess that is it. So let me get my spiel. So we do have executive session tonight, and we do not anticipate action. So after the vote to go into executive session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. We're going to go into executive session to discuss minutes of meetings lawfully closed January through June 2018 under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 2.06. collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, as well as the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. So I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Mrs. Barber.
Aye.
Mrs. Witt.
Aye.
Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mrs. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Jul.
Motion carries 5-0.
Wow. Record.
Yeah, I know.